Welcome, everybody, to the Loud and Drunk podcast. This is Dan, and with Labor Day, it's passed us by. We figured here at the Loud and Drunk podcast, we'll actually just go over what we've done this summer. Moses, what did you do this summer?
There's a lot of goings on. We've moved. We've gone on, going on a trip, and it's been god-awful hot, disgustingly hot, where you can see the air and feel the air and taste the air. I'm missing a sense. I don't know what it is, but you could do that to the air too.
Fair enough.
Justin, what were you up to this summer?
For myself, this summer was actually not terribly exciting, which is fine. So I can't just randomly take off in the summer. So even though I'm 20 years into my career, it's seniority based, blah, 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 blah. But there is a lot to talk about of just I work and I get home, and then I live in a very party neighborhood. So it's more or less along those lines. Nothing really major in that way, but there's a whole bunch of nonsense in the small details.
My name is Maximilian Caliente. I had a very exciting summer. Very happy to be here first and foremost. I traveled. I kayaked. I basically just enjoyed the warm weather, even though it's not necessarily my thing. Very happy to talk about it.
But before we get started with our summer breaks, I want to remind you out there that if you're watching us on YouTube, smash that like button. Make sure that you hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our content. And if you're listening to us elsewhere and maybe you stumbled upon this podcast, make sure that you subscribe, give us a 5-star review.
And a quick add-on, check out our Patreon.
Yes, absolutely.
Patreon.com, Loud and Drunk. If you go on to, we are kind of in the more explicit range, so you have to do an actual patreon.com/loud and drunk.
And type also, the whole thing in, huh?
If you bookmark loudanddrunk.com,
yes,
we give you links to all of these
exactly
things.
Right.
So make sure that you bookmark Loud and Drunk today. Make that your home base. All right, guys. I think we have some stories about summer. Do you mind if I go first?
Please.
All right,
Please.
So this is all pretty, within the scope of 2 weeks, I had 2 major family functions. My grandfather turned 90. So that was a big, yeah, that was a big thing. He lives down in Florida.
Okay.
So I had to travel down there. And this was a major point of contention, family trips. So, stress all around. So there was a whole to-do of my mom doesn't fly. She was trying to weave one of my sisters into driving down with her. They have no interest in doing so. And so both my sisters were like, I want to fly with you. I want to fly with you. That was what it was. It was nonstop. No, I don't want to drive with mom. Let's just fly. Did you have to pick one to fly with you and one to drive? That was actually the thing about it, too, is that one was getting voluntold to drive with mom. And the other one was just be like, no, I have a dog, so I am going to fly with you because I have to get back to my dog.
I feel like that dog was purchased specifically to
get out of responsibility.
Yeah.
So after a lot of contention, my mom decided that she was actually going to drive down by herself. She has a freaking zoo of animals, and they all practically came with her because... yeah, whatever. I'm not
No, I get it.
My sisters flew down with me. I rented an Airbnb and I purchased plane tickets for myself and my 2 kid sisters. Yeah. Now they are 25-year-old women, so one bag will not do it. A simple personal item is not going to suffice.
How dare you for assuming so?
I learned a lot from our Colombia trip.
Yes.
When I was first of all, book the right dates. That's a pretty pivotal thing.
Yeah. Help.
The next thing was, all right, make sure it's a carry-on bag and not a checked bag.
Major distinction.
Major thing. And I had to make sure that, first of all, when I was trying to buy the bags, they were like, oh, no, you can only buy a check bag. And I'm like, what in the great good fuck do you mean I can only buy a check bag?
And this is Spirit, I'm assuming.
Yes, it was Spirit. Because that was another thing between my sisters and I. Just one of them, though. The other one was just like, listen, man, just figure it out and let me know where we're flying out of. I don't care. We can fly out of Zimbabwe.
Right.
So we were going back and forth because I was like, let's just fly out of AC. It's close. It's a super small airport, and it flies directly to Orlando. And from there, we'll rent a car and we'll just drive to where we gotta go. And she was saying, no, let's fly out of Trenton because she's closer to Trenton. And good luck getting a direct flight from Trenton.
Good old Trenton.
Yeah, I was trying, but there weren't too many options for
It
that.
flies directly to AC, though.
To Florida, it's like a 36-hour trip.
Well, the thing with Trenton is you got to be well equipped to have a lot of availability to get Trenton done.
Yeah, so that was why I was trying to push Atlantic City. Now, Atlantic City, you're limited with the flights you can get. You can get like an early flight, maybe like a midday flight, and then like a red eye.
If you're going to Florida, though, it's typically pretty solid.
Yeah.
I feel like they don't, they try to avoid the midday flights because that airport just takes siestas. And
Is that what
it's
it
either
is?
early morning
We're
or
talking
it's
about
late
Atlantic
night.
City, not Mexico.
You know, I never thought about it that way, but like Atlantic City, I love that Atlantic City is there
Yeah.
as an airport. And when it works, but when it doesn't, it
really
doesn't.
I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, it's in your mind, it's so much better than going to a proper airport like an O'Hare or a Philly or a New York.
Well, because
or
it's
Newark,
so small and direct. You're not dealing with all these extra numbers and letters.
Yeah,
Or like
20 minutes you're through security.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it
not
just
even 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I got through security like in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And the only thing that really slowed me down, if we'll jump ahead, we go down to Atlantic City. I was telling the girls maybe about like, you know what, let's just play it safe. Let's make it 90 minutes, but full in advance that we'll be waiting like 80 minutes after
absolutely.
the fact.
Yeah.
But like, let's just not, play around. Maybe like for some reason AC is packed on this one particular day.
better safe than sorry.
Yeah. You never know.
We go down there. We go through security again, super quick. But I got pulled aside.
Ooh.
And they said like, hey, we gotta pat you down. And they showed me on the scanner where the medal was.
Oh.
And apparently,
Was it your dick?
It was a cock ring, wasn't it?
I have balls of steel.
Shit! What size? What are we talking about here? What are we working with?
What is the diameter?
But that was funny. And then what they ended up doing, he gave me an option. We can either go like in the back room and I can pat you down. Down.
So it was a Coke can we're talking about here.
I was like, why would I go into a different room?
Right.
At least around here, there's adults. And
Surely if you have nothing to hide, like, listen, fuck it. This is horrible, whatever.
Yeah.
Just fucking do it.
No, that's how they get you for indecent exposure. They got quotas to meet, too. It's the equivalent of getting pulled over.
So otherwise, it was like, I think when we were getting there, it was like raining. I don't know if it was monsooning so much, but it was kind of like a heavy kind of rain.
Sure.
When we got there, there's like the one bar in AC Airport.
Yeah.
And we were hanging out there. My sisters will never say no to a drink.
Hello.
Am I your sister?
You were on this trip this whole time?
Papa Dan?
Actually, we're just your sisters, man.
But we were grabbing a drink. And then I could just look over. There was lightning, and like the heavy rain became monsoon-like.
Which is also incredibly foreboding when you're waiting for
I was
a flight.
going to say, like, you have to fly a plane in that? Jesus Christ.
And I was just like, this motherfucker's getting delayed. And
Yeah.
they're like, might as well just keep them coming, lady.
Yep.
Just,
Yep.
Yeah, and the pilot's there. Nah, I got this.
I had a pilot sitting across from me from the bar.
Don't worry, we're going to take off. This is Spirit Airlines. I don't get paid if I don't fly.
The pilot bought you a drink. He says not to worry.
But shockingly, we did take off on time, despite all the
Amazing.
rain, which was like, I'm already nervous just getting onto a Spirit plane, just because, like, if I say this, I'll get off. But they've had a whole lot of issues. We take off, everything seems to be fine. So what ended up happening was, my one sister claimed the window seat because she gets motion sickness. And apparently that helps her.
Okay.
And then the other one
Don't get
claimed the middle seat, which I was like, is this all just going to work out shockingly well? Because
Interesting.
I would always rather have the aisle in case
Fuck yeah.
I'm an aisle guy.
I'm an aisle guy as well, yeah.
Oh, I'm a window guy.
Yeah, see, like, having the window is great, but when you're like taking off, you can look at the sky and all that stuff. But I've
Also-
done that so many times now, I don't care.
What I
Also-
would say on, like, especially long flights, window is nice because you can kind of just lean your head against the bulkhead.
Yeah, that's
that's what I was
what I'm
gonna
in
say,
it
yeah.
for.
But on like the 2 hour, like whatever jumper flights, I want to be aisle guy because, like, aside from when that shitty car's going to come and break my kneakap,
There is that.
I can man bread.
Well, first of all,
into the
pay your
aisle.
bills and they wouldn't be breaking your knees. Secondly, I do get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, my sentiment about it is like on the short flight, I can vibe with that because I want to be like out of the seat immediately.
Yeah.
I'm like almost
I don't
6 feet tall.
well,
and that sucks when you have to continue to sit there for it. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's like I just want to see the beautiful sight of Atlantic City as I take off. it's really, it's a dream to behold.
In the pouring rain and the lightning.
Yeah, yeah. Because
That's
it
when
brings
it
me a
looks
little bit closer to death.
That's when
I've
it
seen
looks its
Gremlins from the
best.
Kremlin.
So we take off. And as I said in a previous podcast, Spirit Airlines is just the bus to Manhattan
It
but in
is.
the sky.
It is.
So this actually came up. So my sister is sitting in the middle seat and she has like the look on her face that like something's very wrong. And I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
This plane is falling apart.
I left the stove on.
Maybe you should not have eaten that chili.
That airport chili.
Oh, spirit chili.
She was like, I don't know if the lady in front of me shit herself or not, but she
Christ.
stinks. And so
Well, that's also interesting that she was directly getting it and you had to figure it out from there.
It does seem very accurate, her sense of smell. Like, no, it was seat A, or like 3A.
Sometimes it's like that.
it seemed like she was saying the lady directly in
Yes.
front of her.
Yeah,
stunk.
yeah.
So I was trying to like in vain, you know,
I mean, there's
position the
seepage
fan
and
or
you have to
whatever.
deal with dynamics of how like air movement works in an airplane.
Thank God I packed this box fan. Stewardess, where can I plug this in?
And also on the way there too, keeping in with that comparison to the bus to New York City, there was this family that was there for like a family that was flying down to Florida for a family reunion. They all
course.
had like
Yeah.
matching T-shirts and all
Yeah.
that other shit.
Yep.
And it very much, these people were like, this was the least of our problems because it was actually entertaining of how loud
Yes.
they were. They were just like, hey, what are you doing all the way over there?
Wait,
Like,
box challenge.
So you had that kind of going for you.
It's so funny. So, like, I mean, I know that to be kind of the norm, but like, I don't distinctly remember which trip it was to Japan, but we could text each other from our seats on the
Oh,
Japan
yeah.
airline flight,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which was hilarious.
yeah.
But like, people that travel, and I've done this. Like when I was younger, I've traveled in like a travel group on an airplane where like 80% of the airplane is your travel group.
Yeah.
And that's got to be a nightmare for everybody else that is like individually flying on these flights. And I've only really thought about it now. Holy fuck, that's got to suck ass.
Yeah.
We used to do that going to Aruba. There'd be like, I remember one time there was almost 30 of us. And
Of your crew.
it was
Yeah.
like family and extended family and then like family friends and shit.
For a brief moment, and this is very genuine, I actually imagined when you said 30 of us, I imagined 30 Moses
Oh my
on
God.
the plane. And I had the immediate thoughts of suicide. Like I'm the pilot and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be one of these stories in the news where no one knows why I crashed it.
Max.
But I will be doing a service to mankind.
Max, we are Legion.
You know, that's our biggest problem. It's just like it stinks. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, you know what? And there's a little bit of noise, but no problem. We get to Florida, rent a car, and this
Where did you fly into Florida?
we flew into Orlando.
Orlando. Okay.
Nobody
Oh.
took edibles before boarding?
No.
All right.
I needed to drive. because
Well,
I was
all right,
Oh.
fair. But
Fair.
So actually what ended up happening was I am very I'm a creature of habit.
You are.
Did you guys not notice that?
What?
these podcasts are all structured the same.
So I usually go to Orlando and rent pretty much the same car. I think shockingly the same exact car.
It may very well be.
Just parked it there.
I would like car
yes, Mr.
741B5.
We've been saving Betsy for you.
So when I go to rent the car, this time I rented with a different company. My sisters are like, let's rent this car. They just jump right into it. They don't give me any heads up. They're already in the car. And I'm like, well, I guess that's
Yeah, we want the Hellcat. Let's fucking get the Hellcat. It's only 90% more.
It was a Nissan Altima. It wasn't
Oh.
like that ritzy of a car.
Oh,
That's very boring.
bizarre.
actually.
Like you want one of the most generic cars there are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The difference between a Nissan Altima and the Toyota Camry.
Yeah.
It's like night and day, apparently, to the young ones. But what ended up happening was when we were driving towards where we were going in Florida, my sister, who was in the backseat, just says, oh, hey, Dan, there's a problem. And she's pointing out like the handle. It had kind of like, it didn't rip completely off, but it was off the handle. And I was like, fix
Yeah,
that.
Fuck, yeah.
I
What
gotta
did
pay
you
for
do?
it. Yeah. And she's like, I didn't fucking do shit. And I'm like, just fix it. See if you
Yeah.
can fix it.
It fell off on its own, but yet you noticed immediately.
Yeah.
But then what she also noticed when she was back there is like, I see footprints on the ceiling of this car.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
damn.
Oh.
nice.
Then you break out the black light and see how you got it so cheap.
Yeah, well, you got to get the vectors of spray and stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of spatter there.
Wow.
Not from a penis. This is from a main artery.
Yeah.
Other than the car that, two people fucked in, decent enough car. We couldn't figure out the car plate because they had shut it off. Nice.
Yeah.
The what?
The car
play
that you plug your phone in and you
phone.
all that stuff. Get to the Airbnb. Airbnb is gorgeous, but every single room is locked with like a keypad.
It is.
Oh.
Yeah, it's especially here in the States.
Yeah.
Like we talked all the shit about how we had a great Airbnb in Colombia. If you get an Airbnb here in the States, it's like you are jumping through a million fucking things.
Sounds like a horror movie.
It could be.
It's
If you play it right.
Have they not filmed that yet?
If you look deep enough on Amazon or Netflix, I'm sure you'll find something.
I'm still trying to get through Beekeeper.
Oh, goodness gracious!
Wow.
Don't bring that shit.
This has been
up on this.
Don't
podcast.
ruin this.
We're all just trying to have a nice podcast.
I've been watching Beekeeper. I have to ruin everything.
If I can make a quick point,
Yes.
Airbnb here in the States is kind of shit. I think we got really good a situation in Colombia where you can make it on the better side of that fucking deal.
Yeah.
But Airbnb is mostly a contiguous United States type thing.
Yeah.
As far as the company's like order of operations go.
Yeah.
It's not as nice. And like the rules list is like 1,000 times longer here.
Yeah.
And like you have rooms that
And
are
then,
like specifically locked off. And you actually, a lot of times here in the States, you're getting a portion of a house where a person lives in another part of the house.
Yeah.
That's
So it's like it's
crazy.
more of like a room rental kind of thing.
Yeah.
Temporary room rental.
Oh,
you know?
Like a
in
bed
my
and breakfast where you have like lunch
yes.
and dinner with you have your meals with kind of everyone.
You don't. What I find here in the States is you don't have full access. It's hard to find full access, like to having the full house.
Yeah.
To yourself.
This one we did have access to the full house, but the other trip that I took to Brooklyn, I was looking for hotels, Airbnb, anything to just stay there because I was there for a wedding. And there were like the cheapest thing that you could get is like, you got to crash on Brian's couch. Like don't worry about the old man. He just wakes up at like
$700 a night. I dare you to find better.
Yeah.
Did I say couch? I meant futon.
Yeah. So like Christine and I are going on a trip towards the end of September here, so coming up very quickly. And we were looking at Airbnbs, and like you can find a lot of nice Airbnbs, but it's a part of a house. And it is much cheaper than say a hotel.
So it was a couch.
But you also have to do like there's
a
also
bus
like a
station.
cost if you're thinking about this. There's a cost analysis. So it's like I'm living in one little part of someone's house, or for like 20% more. And this is very distinct to New Orleans. I can have a hotel, like all the fucking things. And like I generally would not like to go to, but there in this instance is better because like it's better than just being in a room.
Yeah.
Where you have to go through somebody's living space.
But you figure if they have like an illegal Airbnb, they're renting out one room, probably have no permits for it versus a hotel.
Yeah.
If the police go and look at the records of the hotel, they're going to find out that you were the one that rented that out.
Yeah.
So when they find the body, then they're immediately going to know that you did it.
Yes.
Whereas,
this is not a murder trip for me and Christina.
Huh.
Really?
Oh no, we're taking a break.
To New Orleans?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that seems like where you would do it.
Yeah, there's so many murders already.
Actually, no, I pick up what Justin's putting down. That's you don't shit where you eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
You guys can't see this, but
Don't blow up our spot.
Yeah, put that
all
away.
That's fair.
This is a family show.
But like, no, because we were very tempted. And I do like doing Airbnb because generally you can get like a house, a whole entity to yourself. Now, on this trip that we're about to go on to, it's not so much the case. And Airbnb is cheaper, but it's like, oh, you get the second floor with the shared bathroom and like all this.
Don't mind Jasper.
It's like living in a dorm.
Yeah. So like this is one of the few instances that we are staying at like a quasi like historic hotel. It's not like a Marriott or like a bar.
I don't know why I like immediately assumed that the second story, like the second story room that you were like hypothetically renting involved like an old school black man named Jasper, and he's just like washing himself with a rag.
Yeah.
He just walks out to see how you're doing. And he's like perfectly jovial. There's no murder
Well, like,
here.
I'm gonna be
and yet it's
completely
still
honest,
uncomfortable.
If that was offered in print, I'd take it.
Honestly, I would pay extra for that. Jasper sounds like a good time.
What you're
And when you
talking
travel
about-
with your wife, or whatever, you get tired of her eventually. And maybe Jasper's nice to hang out with.
We've stayed in a hotel that had something akin to that,
We did.
where there was just the Matrix going on in
Yeah.
real life.
And I got tired of all y'all. I was going to hang out with Jasper all fucking night if I goddamn met him.
You would have been dead.
Selfish. Probably I would have been.
What was that the
The
the Monroe?
in beautiful Atlantic City.
Yeah,
yes.
so if you want a full
Back to Atlantic
experience,
City.
go and stay. If you ever want to go to beautiful Atlantic City, New Jersey, and you want something a little bit different, stay at the Monroe.
I love the floor that they have. That is just the big level in Mario Brothers, where
Can we
everything's
please
gigantic.
go back? Let's do a podcast episode about that.
we
Could
we do have
record
the
in there?
capability
Uh,
to do mobile podcasting now.
Yeah.
oh, well, no, we
love
need
that
a camera for that just to get those.
I feel like
vistas.
it
they paint on the
immediately
wall?
just becomes like that we're trying to like detect ghosts in this like almost abandoned hotel.
Yeah.
It's like very close to abandoned. There's still some money being made. The taxes are there, but that's it.
I'm sure we could walk in and talk to the nice folks at the
I
desk
still
at
just-
the Monroe.
What's
I
bizarre
still
about this
just-
is that like there are big casinos beachfront going out of business. This place, fine,
Oh, it's booming.
fine.
My favorite thing about this still, we don't need to go
No,
more
we're
off
getting
on this tangent than we
distracted,
already
but
are.
yeah.
But I just still want to say that my favorite part about that is that when we walked in, we were like, "Hello, we'd like a room,"
Yeah.
and it was like an Indian guy who was watching like movies on a tiny DVD player.
Yeah.
When
Well,
those
yeah,
were a
one of
thing.
those mobile.
Yeah.
Mobile
DVD
DVD,
players.
player, and he looked at us and he was like, "Huh." Okay.
How do you find yourself?
Yeah, like good luck, I guess.
Yeah, your luck is real.
You don't look
right
like
now.
a pimp or a hooker, so I don't know what you're doing here.
And like you reserved the room, and they're still like, interesting. You showed up.
Yeah.
We thought this was a prank.
Yeah. I'm here until 4 a.m., but it seems like you guys are making bad choices.
So
gonna sue us.
I'll skip ahead, the usual family drama and any sort of family event.
Oh no, that's good because we'll just drag it on for another 45 minutes.
Yeah.
There's an AC story tied to it.
But what I want to tie into the Airbnb thing is that my brother, who lives out in Panama City, the
Yes.
Panhandle,
Yeah.
so he drove like 5 hours to go to this party. He was staying with us. He, his wife, their dog, and also their small child,
Yeah.
all packed into this one room. And so that's what they do. I don't
It's
question.
what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a thing people
We'll
do.
unpack that on another episode.
So I'm, just waking up. I'm doing my stretches because I got a bum back and shoulder. And so I walk out and my brother is unpacking because now it's time to check out of the Airbnb. And all
Oh,
that.
gotcha.
And he's got the five-hour drive. And
Oh
all that.
yeah.
And he goes to me and he's like, I locked the fob inside of the room.
no.
And I tried to hit up the Airbnb guy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he didn't get back to me until 3:00 in the afternoon.
I'm gonna and like this is gonna be a quick interstitial.
Yeah.
Outside, like where I've gotten Airbnbs in other countries, immediate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Here in the States, like impossible
Yeah.
to get anybody to fucking respond to anything.
It was beyond the checkout time. Like,
Yeah.
what did you want me to stay? What ended up happening was like we were just trying to do anything, like just try a combination.
Yeah.
Try
Oh,
a
yeah.
combination.
Yeah.
And then at
Maybe
one
get
point,
lucky.
like one of my sisters said, like, why don't you just try and pick it with a credit card? And my brother's like, these locks, I don't know if that's going to necessarily work.
It worked.
And so
Yeah.
So-
Actually, a lot of times it will work.
So after like 20 or 30 minutes, my other sister recommended it. And at that point, my brother's like, fuck it. Just give me a card and I'll do it. And it's like, it didn't even require any sort of picking. It's just
No.
like he just touched
Slide.
it with the card.
Yeah.
And it
You
just
touch
opened.
it, and it's magic, and it's just like, oh, I give up.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. All
Yeah.
right. Note to self.
It's basically just the honor system.
Yeah.
You can just push the door open.
All the keypads there are for like
You're
some
trying to
social
work the lock the whole time. Just nudge it.
In full honesty, like if you're buying a standard lock from like Home Depot or wherever for any fucking door, it's easily pickable with just a hard piece of anything that's like 0.5 millimeter stick.
So we had actually booked a later flight because I wanted to spend more time, with my grandparents. Don't
Of
get to see
course.
them every day.
Yeah.
So what we ended up doing, go see grandparents again. I got some aunts and uncles there. So, having a good time. We actually go to one of the bars that my uncle likes to go to when he visits, his parents. And the only reason I'm bringing this up, because otherwise, unextraordinary, my sister actually got her belly button re-pierced, which is hilarious because
They still do that.
It was right by the bar. There was literally a piercing place that's right by the bar.
So legit.
And
Florida's a crazy fucking country.
And then what I'm leading in with that, there was literally a dude with a snake around his neck.
Of course.
Like Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yep.
I was just like, all right, that's pretty legit, I guess, Florida. And then...
Well, I found it in the Everglades.
Then, I don't know if it was my sister that pointed her out or if I just found her. There was a chick and she was smoking hot. She was like a 9 or a 10.
Okay.
But she had a parrot on her arm. So that immediately knocks her down.
So I heard 11.
So that knocks her down. That knocks her down to about a 7 in my book.
You son of a bitch.
Oh, you don't like birds.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'd have a great time with that.
That's the kind of bird you just bring home and turn out.
Bring home to your mother. Yeah.
You get to take this bird permanently. Don't let it be anywhere near me.
My mother always says, judge a girl by her bird.
Wow.
Wow.
Also, makes sense.
No.
But to kind of wrap up this portion of my my summer. So we take the flight back, that little red eye. Like I think we got back here somewhere around like 11:30, midnight-ish.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
So we get on the flight, and I shit you, I don't know if the people behind us were either stupid or just literally fucking retarded.
Probably both.
But they would not stop kicking seats. They wouldn't stop fucking moving. They were taking flash photography as we were landing.
Photography?
On their phones, of all things.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, my sisters were so incredibly infuriated by all of it. And then the funny thing is, I was just like, don't be that person on a Spirit airline where you get shot. Now you're going viral because now you're just mouthing off to the person who doesn't give a shit.
They'll throw you right off that plane.
Yeah.
Mid-flight.
Like that Asian guy, I can't remember, it was a couple of years ago, but he had a full-on meltdown and it had to be dragged out all fours, like off the ground.
Find Dan at veteranslosingtheirshit.com.
But what ended up happening was when we first boarded the plane, I think Christina said something about this on our Columbia episode, that there was like this intolerable noise. I think it was in the terminal when we were there, but on the plane, it was there.
Oh, in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was piercing on the plane. And I'm like, this is fucking annoying. When does this go away? And then as I kind of just like took everything in, the entire trip, the drama, this, that, the other thing, the noise came back again as we landed. And I literally, as I got up, I grabbed everyone's bag and practically threw the bags at them. I'm like, we're getting the fuck off this plane. As soon as that noise came back, I just literally started laughing. Not like cackling, but more of like the sinister, like I'm holding this in.
Yeah.
But it looks like I'm having that Breaking Bad moment when Walter is in the crawl space and all the money is gone.
Oh my God.
That's great. I love that.
Fucking travel is such a wild experience these days.
Yeah, it is.
It truly is. Especially domestically.
Yeah.
I really enjoy, this is like a little side note here, but like I don't know if you guys knew that I very much so enjoy this, because I think that I avoid doing it when we've traveled together, but I've traveled alone many times. And when I'm sitting by myself on a plane, I watch videos on YouTube of planes crashing and all the things that go on. I play it at full volume because fuck you. And like nobody's ever said anything to me, but I know that it's like extremely sociopathic of me to do.
You're going to get somebody eventually if you keep doing it.
Oh, people are very uncomfortable with it. Yeah. But for me, it actually calms me because it's like,
Which is bizarre considering what we were just talking about earlier about the sheer cliffs and...
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I feel... So, yes, what you're referring to is that I feel uncomfortable when I have control near something. So, like, I'm uncomfortable driving next to like a sheer drop off. I love to hike, but I don't like to hike like when I'm like right next to the edge of something. But when I'm on a plane, I have no control. No. I'm not a pilot.
You have to give that up.
Like, if both pilots and the engineer die, like I don't know how to fly a plane. So I have no control over that. So I actually feel a strong level of comfort with it. At the same time, obviously flying is very uncomfortable. So I like watch those videos and they just like make me laugh. But it makes everyone else deeply uncomfortable, which vicariously makes me much more comfortable because it's really like a comparison kind of thing.
It's control. Because it's controlled because you get to execute your own influence over the people around.
Exactly. Yeah. My control is of the people that surround me. Yeah.
And if they're freaking out, I get to be better than that.
Basically. Yeah. That really is how it is. It's quite funny.
I like to fart on planes and just see who looks and blames who.
I feel like they hear you.
No. I got some SBDs.
What is it? What?
SBDs.
He's got no ass, so it's just got to be like a weird flop when he farts.
Yeah. Just a puff of wind.
He doesn't have enough meat to execute an audible sound.
That's actually fair. Yeah, I can see that happening.
There's no vibrations.
So
It's just like,
So like 10 days later, my cousin on my dad's side of the family, now, she's getting married.
Goodness.
And they're getting married in Brooklyn, and not the part of Brooklyn that our friend of the show, Pat, is from.
What a dynamic.
Yeah. The wedding was in a brewery. So no kids allowed because,
I get it, but I've been to breweries where they're like, yeah, kids are fun. Somebody had their baby shower at a beach house. Yeah,
that's awesome.
But what
was beach house?
But the interesting thing about it, and one of the few things I'll actually bring up about it in terms of being in Brooklyn, is that in this part of Brooklyn, it's like right by where the Barclays Center is, where the Brooklyn Nets play.
Yes.
For the life of me, I met up with my my eldest brother, his wife, and my aunt for pizza or whatever. And then we're walking around, and I throw out the idea. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. Let's go get a drink.
Yeah.
We got all the festivities that we, whatever. Oh, I should get into this too because I should eat a fair amount of crow about this, but I'll backtrack.
Okay.
But we'll get to this. Could not, for the life of us, find a bar in Brooklyn that was open at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday.
How much things have changed?
Yeah.
There were a number of places that you could get a drink, but it's also like a library.
This is Brooklyn, New York.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
We eventually found a place, but the table, and I'm trying to find something within this room right now. That little stool over there.
Yes.
That was pretty much the size of the table that we were seated at. Brooklyn has this really hipster vibe to it, but I didn't really hit me until we can't find a place to fucking drink at 3:30 in the fucking afternoon.
It's all evening time shit, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're getting at?
Yeah.
So back in I used to be in New York City a lot when I was young, even before drinking age. And you could just accidentally stumble your way into a place to drink.
Yeah.
Now it's it's where gentrification has gone that extra jump now.
It's hyper gentrified.
Yeah.
And it's everybody's a 9 to 5.
All the cool spots are gone.
Yeah.
And now it's just the quantified cool spots. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's Brooklyn's not cool anymore. It used to be a place that back in the day, when the city's always fucked. Well, Brooklyn was a spot where you could go and you could even 11 o'clock in the morning. You didn't have to go more than 2 or 3 blocks to find a spot where you could just fall into, have a drink, have a cool conversation with some fucking locals and shit. But that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it was absolutely infuriating trying to find a place to just grab a drink, pregame it for the inevitable welcome drinks evening that we were having at a speakeasy.
It's almost impossible to do. And there are still spots that are there.
Yeah.
I'll absolutely be the first to say that. But if you don't know, you extra don't fucking know.
Yeah.
It's hard to find them.
Yeah.
Because they're such deep local spots, which it's good that they exist. But it's you're not going to find them when you're just an honest person looking for a mid-afternoon drink.
Well, yeah, because Christina and I used to sometimes we'll just take if I had my weekend off, we'd go up and we'll go up into the city. Back in the day, you could just walk around and just fall into a cool fucking spot.
Yeah.
A little spot that only the fucking locals know about.
Yeah.
That barely exists now.
Yeah.
You have to, scenarios like that basically revolve around walking down flights of basement stairs.
Basement stairs are the big
And
time.
then sometimes people are just get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? Because you're actually just in a basement. And then other times there's a nice bar down there.
Yeah.
And it's just a basement bar. But that's really all that's left.
And there are so many bars that I could mention in years past, but they're all gone.
Yeah.
They're all gone.
It's very gentrified now. Yeah.
Well, what I should back up to is because I said on this podcast that I don't like baseball. I don't think summer has good summer sports. Guess what I did the Wednesday before this?
Did you go to a Mets game?
I went to a Yankees-Mets game at Yankee Stadium.
My condolences.
It's actually, first of all, they wouldn't stop hitting home runs. It was shocking. The leadoff hitter for the Yankees hit a home run.
Yeah.
All right, home run. And I'm all right. The Yankees will probably win this game. My cousin and I go to get more drinks because, loud and drunk.
How many greenbacks did you spend on those drinks?
How rich are you, Dan? You got a second drink at Yankee Stadium?
We're talking about a GoFundMe for Dan right now, and all of a sudden this fucking motherfucker's...
I will never financially recover from this.
He's on his
spending $70 a drink up here in fucking Brooklyn.
I'm in the red. After getting those drinks, I don't know what to tell you. But I can't sit through baseball without drinking.
Well, no,
fair.
No,
What do you think?
it's necessary.
That's why they charge so much. They know nobody can.
I was in contact with friend of the show, Mr. Justin Mechanic, who was a Mets fan, and he had to have been in his glory watching that game.
Oh, absolutely.
It was like 11-2 Mets. Like towards the end of the game, they had just absolutely crushed them. They were chanting "Let's go Mets" the entire time.
He took the time out of his day. I'm sorry to interrupt you. He took the time out of his day to tell me that there was multiple home runs, and I said I didn't see them.
What's a home run?
Can you show me? And we happened to be watching another Mets game on the television the whole time, and he was just watch. They've been doing great. We were watching a live game.
Just watching that 68 game again.
On this abacus, can you show me?
Right then and there, we're watching it, and it's like the guy goes up to bat. It's a foul, and he's out. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's the baseball that I know. So what the fuck were you doing? Was this like a fever dream?
Was that a home run?
Yeah.
I will say this, though. Like, if I were by myself or with one other person going to a baseball game, that would probably be intolerable. But since I was with, like, a wide swath.
There is
of
something of a group dynamic that can be, and I think for myself, like, I grew up going to Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Loved it as a kid. And for me, it was more about like hot dogs and bullshit food, I guess, when I was a kid. But the games were fun.
I want to play devil's advocate here real quick. I know we're diverging from your story, Dan, but I'm just going to put this out there because you're saying that there's a group dynamic here that makes it perhaps a bit more enjoyable than it is by yourself. Well, then I'm going to say that if I was a lone gladiator in 500 BC in Rome, that fucking sucks. But all of a sudden now it's like all of us out there and we're like charging each other up and we're going to fuck up some fucking, some people from Carthage. And then we obviously all get murdered terribly. Like that still sucks, man. It's still a shitty thing. That's the way that I feel about baseball.
Yeah, but you do it together.
Yeah, exactly. You can pitch it however you want. It might seem fun because you have your friends there. I think everything's fun with your friends there. But baseball is like dying slowly with your friends.
I don't want to be too hysterically weird about it, but it's so fun to think of like that aspect and just like a statue of Scipio Africanus there.
Yeah, exactly. And there we are. That's the reality of it.
But like, I think if I could take that and everything, it's just like, I'll speak for myself and also like adding on with your story, it's like you kind of need a group to make that fun.
Yeah.
Now.
I will say there's nothing without the group.
You can talk about other things. Like I was talking to my cousins about this, that, and the other thing. It distracts you from the game because the game can be incredible.
Well, also,
forever.
like you've also paid through the nose to be there.
Yeah. I would say though, for like, I think the tickets were like $100.
Well, that's how much a beer costs.
It was like, a pretty good angle to watch a baseball game, honestly. It's not something I want to watch when I go to a bar, just trying to have a drink or whatever.
No.
But just going there, like, as you said, for the experience, not terrible.
Where were you sitting?
What's that?
Where were you sitting?
It was, if I could remember,
somewhere in New Jersey.
It's like, is it behind, behind third base?
No, approximately, we were like behind first base.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Okay.
Like, maybe like.
So there's action. That's where the action's going to happen. If in fact there's action in this game.
There's action. Yeah.
But like also like the second bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, so not in the nosebleeds, but like kind of in between.
Not in the bleachers. That they have like all the way in the back. But you could kind of see like, all right, they're running, they're going to steal.
You could see their faces.
Yeah, you can clearly
with your plain eye.
You can clearly see that they're hitting a home run, although I missed 2 home runs because I was too busy yapping. But it was a fairly decent time. The gin was flowing for me, so that's probably why I enjoyed it so much.
But they get you for like $37 an ounce.
Yeah, just like that.
He bought 7 bottles and drank 2 cups.
Yeah.
Not of gin, mostly soda water.
When I was younger, like not even just like Major League Baseball games we go to, I'd also go to like Trenton Thunder games and like minor league games and stuff like that. Are those
better, just like audience wise?
When I was a kid, I really liked because you're talking about smaller stadiums.
Yeah,
the action seemed like you had more, but also like growing up. Now, I wouldn't say I was like a Philadelphia fan, but like my best friend's father was a Philadelphia Phillies fan back at the old Veterans Stadium.
Go Birds.
And like we'd go and it was cool. And back in those days, you had like John Crook, I ain't an athlete lady era of like Philadelphia. It's like it was nonsense.
Yeah,
but it was I was a kid. I was like 7 or 8. It didn't matter. I was going there.
You were there.
I was close enough. I was getting a shitty fucking dirty water dog, and like
Those are so delicious.
They are so good.
yeah.
They really are.
But like I went a couple of years ago to the new Philadelphia Stadium.
Yeah, Citizens Bank Park.
Citizens Bank, yes. I was hilariously, I live in New Jersey, but like I had to go for 8 days for a union conference in Philadelphia. And like,
So you took in a game like a...
no, and that was part of it.
Oh.
We got like game tickets to go. And it was
I
like,
mean, that's
we were
neat.
literally,
Your tax dollars at work.
yeah, even if it was tax dollars, I'm sure it
They
came,
earn those dollars.
yeah. And it was devoid of all life. It was devoid of anything fucking fun.
Oh, nobody was there, or there was...
No, there was a ton of people there, but it was just like,
You're not there with the right crowd.
they were even essentially not free tickets to me, but essentially free tickets to me. But it was just like, there's like no soul to it anymore.
Yeah.
And that might just be a young child's vague memory.
Yeah, it's just looking back on
big
things.
sports are just about money. That's
Yeah.
the sad reality of
Yeah.
it. You know,
Absolutely.
That's how it is.
I would say the ceremony was really nice. It was at that brewery. I questioned the decision of having the dance floor and a main artery of the brewery. Like, to go to the outside portion and the inside portion is where the dance floor was. So, like,
Perfect.
I was drinking gin.
That's
so,
to get you on the dance floor
yeah, I had to keep going through it.
and
because
dance through it.
I
yeah.
couldn't get my gin drinks outside the outside bar. I had to keep going inside. So,
You got to get your gin through dance. Interpretive dance, Dan.
yeah, my interpretive dance was alcoholism, and I stand by it.
Yeah.
He's
But
right.
the only other thing I really have to add to it is that when we left, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and, driving back down here, good God, the Benny traffic. Like, it took me 2 hours to get back. I was thinking at one point, this is gonna ease up. At one point, it never did. I was also batting like zero the entire time driving down. Like,
Yeah.
I got cornered, so I had to take the express, which you're not supposed to do.
yeah.
No.
But like, there's no way for me to
right.
Get out of
over.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I'll cross over 117
Right. Sure.
and
Yeah.
we'll go to
Yeah.
local that way.
Yeah.
From
Nope.
then on. And then that stopped. And then the freaking the express was going. So I was just like, I had to look over at my brother who flew in for the wedding, and he wanted to just like see our mom, see one of his buddies that lives around town. And I had to like apologize to him. I'm like, listen, man, I am absolutely fucking this up, and I'm sorry that it's taking so long to get back.
Dan, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, yeah, take it. You fucked up. But I'm gonna be honest, like straight up, like where I live, which is, like exit 80-ish off the Parkway, it's like the traffic hasn't left in 3 fucking weeks.
It's the
Yeah.
belly of the beast. Yeah.
Well, also, I didn't really have much of a choice. It's like we left when we left, so.
Right.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
was-
like, but like,
That's when it was, so there's no really getting around it.
and the way it used to be is like, yeah, Friday, Saturday's fucked up.
Yeah.
Not, and then like a couple of years ago, it's like, oh, Thursday, Friday, Saturday's fucked up. I'm gonna just tell you straight up, in the past couple of weeks, it's been like they came down Monday 4 weeks ago and have not left.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was baffling to me. I thought at one point, this would ease up. I had to get off at exit 91 and just
Sure.
I'll figure it out.
Oh God. Oh God.
That's a terrible one.
Yeah, but it's just like I had just had my fill. I'm like,
There is so much Parkway you could take.
You just want to be off the
No, I
Parkway.
get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just cross by where the Blue Claws play.
Yeah.
I will find my way back.
I
At a
will,
certain point, you just start
drag
driving
my
west.
nuts through Lakewood and figure it out.
Anywhere but here.
Yeah.
Just I-95 straight up.
You wake up and you're in Iowa. It's like, I don't know,
Oh
but
my
this
God.
seems good.
That
Yeah.
seems like a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dirt out there.
it's-
But it's like, for those of us on this podcast, we've all grown up in the relative same area. It's like, yeah, the summer fucking sucks
Yeah.
ass. The weekends are terrible. People come down on Friday and like they leave on Sunday. You don't want to be on the Parkway South Friday, Saturday. You don't want to be on Parkway North on Sunday, especially.
Yep.
But now it's just like,
You don't want
it's
to
like
be
a
on the
side
Parkway
effect
at
of like
all.
the post-COVID,
Yeah.
like people working from home. Now it's like, yeah, during COVID, it was like Thursday became a definite, like it moved from Friday to Thursday, and like Wednesday was also complicated.
Up in the air.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I think they just came down and also are just driving up and down the Parkway to fuck with us.
Yeah, Thursday's kind of right out now. Like it's just there's like 4 days maybe you could get on the Parkway with relative ease.
I'm living, 30 minutes south of here, 40 minutes south. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my journey to get here today was, you know,
coming north
Justin,
is terrible.
I got here long before either of you gentlemen, and I immediately hit the bottle.
Oh no, he had to. He had to. And
It
it's
was,
like,
it was traumatic.
It's so funny how this shit is, because like we all grew up with a certain mindset. Yeah, the weekend sucks, but it's like morphing and like weird and changing.
Yeah, we're
Ever
expecting
since COVID and like the ability to work remotely, I think has really kind of fucked this thing up.
Yeah.
Entirely.
We're expecting that regular kind of fucked up that we have in our heads from memory.
Yeah.
But it's been evolving where it's just like, no, this is how it is. That's just how it is. This isn't just a seasonal thing. It's just.
And it's also just like a large population increase. I
mean, that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. It's that a lot of people live in these places now that used to be places that are so far from the city that you weren't able to have that job and also still live here. And now that's not the case.
No,
it's that
now they bought the houses here in that sliver of time where it made sense.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, sure, prices have skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Like, not even by a manner of like, oh, it's like twice or 5 times or 10 times. It's
it's
insane.
No, it's
Yeah.
And like you have all the people that were working in the city. It's like
they had like
it changed the whole dynamic.
We were talking about Brooklyn and whatnot before, so like use that as the example. It's that you had somebody who had their place in Brooklyn, and that's where they had to be all the time. And then they also had a little place here in New Jersey where we live.
Well, it used to be back in the day. It was like a family,
right?
place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what they did is that now that they don't have to work up there, they sold the actual apartment up in Brooklyn, and now they live here full time. But the roads are the same size.
Yeah.
You know that everything else has remained the same.
Well,
so
it's also bananas because like a lot of people sold their places to the cities, and now Chinese entities own these fucking properties in this fucking
exactly.
city.
God
And,
bless,
like,
at
even
least
here-
somebody's getting rich.
And like even here, as we know, I work for the post office here in this area, and most of the houses that have sold in the past couple of years post COVID are bought up by like just like shareholding companies from China.
Oh man!
Wow.
Well, that's what we need to get in on.
China.
Do I own stock in that?
We did. We have a TikTok account.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Thank God.
So we're part Chinese.
I was sweating it for a minute.
I enjoy dumplings. They make a decent.
But it's like
Ew, shockingly.
where back in the day, like these houses would be bought by people, and like yeah, some of them are still bought by people, but a lot of them are just now bought by entities.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the house is bought, and no one's ever there.
Yeah. What are they?
They're
It's like-
holdings.
They're called like REITs.
Exactly,
Or something like
yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where
And
was this when I
they're
was a
just investment holdings.
Yeah. Yeah. You just own it. That's
Yeah.
all that it is. You
'Cause
just make money by owning it.
when I was when I was a kid, we had a big ring of breaking and entering,
Yeah.
where we would go around to the summer houses.
Oh,
Because,
you were breaking and entering. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and we
a little bit of B&E action.
yeah, and we would steal all the liquor and then whatever kind of small jewelry because they were all summer homes. So like you're not keeping valuables
Who leaves
there.
jewelry at their summer home?
Some of them did.
Wow. Imagine that, then.
I'm not surprised by the B&Es and stealing the liquor.
But that was
But
the
I'm
big
also,
proponent
like, in
of
a
it,
way,
but-
not surprised by just ostentatious. I'm doing a lot of hand quotes here. Italian folk.
Yeah. That's how it is.
Well, a lot of it wasn't real gold, so like
No,
it
it's just
leads into
it's just
but
Nobody
horns to
questioned
that's what. Well, I mean, no,
horns
they always wear
to,
it.
to stave off the glamoik.
Yeah,
Huh. It seems like he's corroborating that.
Well, it's,
No,
it's like a shinny curse thing.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I
you
can
should.
corroborate that.
It's the Italian
Yeah.
purview of the Sheeny curse.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I will say, to kind of step in here,
Thank God for
Summertime,
you,
right?
Dan.
I had a good time at both of my trips. But speaking of traumatic, Mr. Maximilian.
Yeah.
You had a kayaking adventure.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
I did. Yeah. Wow. Where'd it even begin? I went on a kayaking trip. My missus, her dear friend, boyfriend of that person, fiance, whatever we want to call him. I'll throw the first names out here. We've got my missus, Miss Nick, her best friend Denham, her man, his name is Jake. And then we had a couple taggers along for it. We had an older couple that was there. I don't know their exact names. Woman was lovely. Nothing really stood out. Just a woman slightly older than myself, soft-spoken. Her man was definitely like an Italian stereotype of sorts, which I very much so enjoyed. I guess the overall gist of it is that the trip The kayaking trip overall was not my idea. It went very well. Nothing really too exciting there in general.
It was a beautiful event until it wasn't.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, it was as basic as you could imagine.
I feel like that's like a lot of the stories.
Yeah, we
New
rolled up to a
Jersey.
spot that somebody else picked out. We rented some kayaks, no problems. We dragged them out into a river that they own this launching point from. We kayaked around for a while.
It was probably off Malta or like.
That's correct. Yeah. So this was launching out of Mays Landing in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like in the center of
Malta
New
River,
Jersey.
Bass River, down in the lower part of the state.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, we're kayaking around. Everything's chill. We have a couple of drinks, nothing too fancy. This is a multi-hour endeavor. We're about halfway back, and there's like various different waypoints where you can stop. The older woman that we were with, there's like at this halfway point, there's like a slide that was put in by the river owners, whatever you want to call that. And, it's like a little stop and entertainment point, whatever you want to call it. And she goes down this slide, and at the bottom of it, there's like a super sharp stone or broken glass. And she ends up slitting her fucking wrist.
Oh,
so that's the first thing to kind of go wrong. So she jumps out. Obviously,
that's a big thing to go wrong.
It's a pretty big thing to go wrong because we're a kayak ride from civilization. We're in a river.
This is like a weekend, a weekend just afternoon endeavor.
Yeah, it's just like a very chill scenario.
Like class 3 rapids or anything.
Yeah, exactly. We're not. Yeah, this is like still waters. So like this happens. Basically, she jumps out. Her man bandages her up. She's okay. The bleeding stops, and we're like, okay, but now we do actually need to get back in a hurry.
Things are more.
There's an injury now. We do need to get back. So she's kind of paddling away, and we're following her. And now, Jake. He's paddling along, and he's the most experienced of us there by far. The woman who was injured, her man, I believe his name was John, something goes wrong with his rented kayak, and he begins taking on water. So he's in some sort of a conundrum. And so Jake is so good as to be like, I'm going to stay behind. You guys, basically referring to me, my missus. He's like, you guys get this injured woman back.
Yeah, those of you that are mobile.
Yeah, exactly.
Go.
I'm going to make sure that John gets back okay. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'm fucking exhausted. We've been kayaking all day. There's an injured person. I'm very ready to go.
You're also out on like a 90-degree day.
Yeah, it's balls fucking hot out. And I'll only because I know this will come up later when my lady Nicolette listens to the story.
Yeah,
I did choose to go on this kayaking trip wearing my regular attire, which is proper jeans and boots. And I was also wearing a Hawaiian shirt, which
opposite of kayaking.
The opposite of kayaking attire. I'm very aware of that. Yeah, this will come up later in the story. So we just continue on. We eventually make our way back. We get to the ramp. It's somewheres around 6 p.m. and we're chilling there for a minute. We're basically all just we're just happy to be back on dry land.
Yeah.
And eventually this van pulls up with its loading whatever for the kayaks. And the guy hops out. We're excited that he's there. And he's like, he's kind of like in a huff about it. And he comes over and he's like, man, you guys are late. And he says this to Miss Denham, who was with me. She paid for everything.
Right.
And she kind of like plays it off, just like, yeah, we had somebody get injured on the river.
Right.
Which you should care about.
Should happen.
Yeah. And he just kind of, he's like a bit of a dick about it. He like kind of just keeps being like, you're late. It's ridiculous. It took you this long.
How late were you? If in fact you were.
He said that we were something like a half an hour late. It was probably about 20 minutes. There was other people in the river too, so we weren't like outrageously late.
That being said, it's insane. I've done a lot of tubing, kayaking, canoeing, all through the Delaware and in the state and stuff like that. That's kind of expected.
Yeah, we weren't like...
Yeah, you can't predict how long it's going to take you to go down a goddamn river.
And we weren't like, we stopped to like have a little swig or to like talk to locals. Yeah. The girl went down the slide, but we weren't like doing anything ridiculous, So this guy's like all in a huff about it, and about how he has to stay late now and this and that. And he's like encroaching upon being rude. Now, mind you, it's myself, my lady, Miss Denham, who paid for everything. She's waiting for her man. Yeah. And then we have an injured person.
Injured girl.
Right. Yeah. And she's very much so bandaged up.
Girl
so like,
interrupted.
It's a real thing. And this guy is just kind of like really like just beating the dead horse. So Miss Denham, once again, she paid for it. And she's just like, listen, she goes, in the contract that I signed, it said, if I'm late, then I simply have to pay you a fee for every half hour. So charge me.
And
she
glad
said,
to do that.
And she says it about as politely as one can. She's not being like very disrespectful or anything like that. But she's like, just charge me for whatever it is that we're late.
I'm sorry.
You know? And she did apologize. She
I
says,
love that the fact
late.
that this girl is bleeding out in front of all y'all, and he's worried about
He's
being
extremely worried about what time he gets out of work and how we're late. There's other people, mind you, who are still getting out of the river. So it's kind of like he's like beating this girl who's like, you know, fucking,
he's just late for his green tea enema.
Yeah,
he's
exactly. Yeah, Denham's like 30 years old or something like that. I have no idea. And he's kind of like digging into her for whatever reason. And I'm minding my own business because that's not my girlfriend.
Right,
and I'm exhausted, so I have no real interest in like involving myself in this fight. And she tells it to him just like it is. You know, like, I'm happy to pay you for the time, but don't speak to me like I'm your child. I don't want to be disrespected.
Don't treat me like a piece of shit. Charge me the premium.
He continues to do it. So at a certain point, I'm like, I have to say something. I'm the only guy here.
Yeah.
So I say to him basically exactly what anybody would say. I was like, listen, she already told you that she was sorry. It's not her fault that we're late. Also, by the way, there's like, we're still waiting on 2 other people.
Yeah.
One of them has a sinking kayak that you gave to him. We also have an injured girl here, which you care nothing about. So if you want to yell at somebody about our tardiness, maybe it isn't us because we're all here right now. We're on time enough. The person who is late is her man, her husband, Jake. So when he gets here, if you want to yell at him, that's just fine. And now at this point in the story, I will say that I know full well that Jake is a goddamn lunatic. He is an insane person. I love him to death. He's one of my most favorite people, but he's the type of person where it's like, if you look at him sideways, he might lose his shit.
Yeah.
You know, he's just that type of person where he's got like an edge to him, you know?
No, he could be your best friend ever, but he's got that.
Yeah, he's like a chill guy and he's very respectful, but he's not like to be disrespected. And so I say this to this kayak guy, because I'm like, you're picking on this girl right now. But like, if you look at Jake when he comes paddling out of this river, you're not going to have shit to say. So I was like, so maybe take it up with him. Guy basically blows me off and then like kind of mumbles a little bit under his breath at the girl. Still doesn't have shit to say to me. So it's like kind of paints this picture of like the kind of guy that he was. It's very easy for him to yell at like a young lady.
You were also wearing jeans and a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, so he can tell that I'm an insane person. Don't fuck with me. So basically the dude jumps back in his van and he fucking just like speeds off and just like leaves us there. So I'm like, all right, whatever. You know, we still have to wait anyways. I hike up the hill and I see that the place that we're actually trying to get to is maybe like a 10, 15 minute walk away. So it's not too big a deal. And then thereafter, Jake and our friend John, the one with the sinking kayak, they come paddling up. Jake is like, oh my God, I had to carry this man back. It was a very difficult journey. You know, basically all of us really struggled. Nobody cared. Nobody tried to help. The owners of this like fucking kayaking fucking, you know, camp or whatever you want to call it, they did not give a fuck. You know, like you could have died on that river as long as they get out right on time, maybe 15 minutes early. Let's see how it goes. So basically Jake comes paddling out and he tells his story and then he's like, where's the van? And his lady says, well, the guy was here and he took off. Jake looks at me and I'm like, that's true. That's exactly what happened. So he kind of looks to me for the story. He gets the story from everybody, you know, which is basically exactly what I just told you. The guy was kind of a dick. He talked shit to his lady and this and that. Jake's, again, as the kind of guy that he is, he's like, I'm going to take care of this. And he just begins walking up this hill, you know, all fucking, you know, 6 feet of him, the beard that drapes down to the floor, you know, and he's just like, I'm going to take care of this. And I'm like, I'm going to go with Jake.
Yeah.
And my lady's just looking to get home. So she just lets me do this. So we're marching up this hill and he like, I don't even know if he asked me, but I felt like the question was what really happened?
Yeah.
Because I got a story from the girls, but what really happened? And I was like, the guy was disrespectful, but let's just get out of here. You know, like I know how you are, or maybe let's not cross this bridge if we don't have to.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's fine. I just want to talk to him, which we all know what that means.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the old Family Guy gag. I just want to talk to him.
I just want to talk to him. Yeah.
I just want to shoot him.
I just want to shoot him just a little bit. Let's just see what happens. So we march all the way up and like Jake's a much bigger man than I am. So, you know, it's just like, I'm just along for the journey really. So we march up there, short walk, and we're approaching like their little office or whatever. And the camp is like close to closing down. So, there's not a lot of people out there, but there are about maybe 6 to 8 people who are hanging out right outside of the office.
Some kin.
Yeah, exactly. They all clearly work there. And it's like, they're all family. This is like a family run place. They're all just like in a circle and they're just like, I guess, talking about the day, you know, the work day, that type of thing. He just walks right through them into the office. Because I actually, I did say to him, I was like, oh, that's the guy in the office, because I'm totally an instigator. And so it's like, I didn't want this to go this way, but at the same time, like, I knew he was going to find the guy. So I was like, that's the guy in the office. So he walks right through the crowd, does not give a fuck, because he just doesn't stop for people. And so I pause outside. I was like, I'll wait outside for you. So I'm standing outside, like, and now I'm on like a part of this circle, which I didn't really like plan on, and I'm socially awkward. So I was just like, hey guys.
You did the immediate thing of like, I'll let this dude go do the
He's
thing.
going to do what he's going to do.
But you planted yourself in the middle, in like the circle of the kin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't want anybody to follow him. And at the same time, I'm not going to follow my guy, Right. So he walks inside and like we can see through the, like there's like a window or two. And so like I'm standing there very awkwardly with these people who have no idea what's happening, but I'm sure they had an idea. You could tell from the body language. Yeah. So Jake's in there and he's like, and I can see that he like begins it with like just questioning. Yeah. This guy, based off of the demeanor that I described to you, was obviously like not the, like he was like a small dick motherfucker. Yeah. And he was like not going to really be talked down to by somebody, even if he was like bigger than him. Yeah. So Jake and this guy are kind of going back and forth and the body language looks okay. And I'm awkwardly staring at this circle of friends that I am not a part of them. And eventually somebody's like, what's the deal with your friend? And I said the truth. I was like, well, your guy in there, I don't know who he is, but he talks shit to his wife and he's very pissed about it. And like, I would like to get out of here, but at the same time, your guy in there like abandoned us. And that's obviously not what his wife paid for.
We had to drag the shit.
Yeah.
Well, but yes, you guys had to hike up.
Yeah. It was exactly. It was like the guy who owned the camp or whatever it was, like all of you guys, like there's a way to just solve this. And it's really just go down and pick up the girls in their kayaks. And we can all just go home. There's no reason for this to escalate any further. And they kind of like shrug it off. And I'm like, okay, not my problem. So I'm standing out there. And then you can see that like Jake and whoever this guy is begin to get into like a really deep argument. And like the blood vessels are showing and it's getting escalated. You begin to hear it now through the walls. And the only girl who's out there in that group with me, she's like, you better go in there and get your friend before he gets arrested. And I'm like, I know that he's not like, he's overreacting, but like, he's not wrong. Like this guy was a dick to his wife.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Yeah, he's out of line, but he's right. So I was like, but this is my job. That's why I came up here. So I walk inside and I go in and I get him and I'm like, listen, John, they're like fucking foaming at the mouth, the two of them. The guy who started the fight with the lady, the guy who owns the camp, right? He's like just being a douchebag. And this guy, to put in perspective, he's like 5.5 feet tall. He doesn't have a fight in him. And Jake is like fucking, to really paint this picture, he might as well be 7 feet tall. He's a
barbarian.
He's a goddamn
compared
Viking.
to a fucking like Norman.
He's a giant fucking. He's a big ass fucking white dude covered in tattoos with a big ass fucking beard. He looks like the kind of
some shit.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy at the bar where you don't start a fight. No, I'll put it that way. No. And he was trying to be respectful, but he's like, he doesn't want you to talk back to him if he thinks that he's right. And in this case, he was right. So I go in there and this is a scene that's unfolding. The dude who owns the place, he's behind the counter. And my guy, Jake, is like screaming at him and what have you. And I'm like, all right, Jake, let's get out of here, man. I was like, you've made your point. He's not really trying to hear me. But I'm like, listen, you've got your girl down there. I've got my girl down there. And we're friends. Well,
I think that is the primary thing to take into account is that like the girls are down.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's something that I know that he respects. And obviously that's my primary concern. Yeah. So he's like, okay, fine. And he's like, so I'm like walking him out. I've got like, the hand on the shoulder. I'm kind of holding them just in case, And so like, and the guy behind the counter is like, he's like mumbling a little bit of shit, but he's like not doing anything because he there's nothing for him to do. He's the smallest guy in this whole group, including the girl that was outside. So I basically get Jake rather, more or less like we're walking out of this space and I get him fully outside. And he's like, and he's agreeing with me. And he's like, and they're like, we're going to call the cops. And he's like, don't call the cops. I'm leaving. I just want to go and get my girl. He's doing as best as you can, given how heightened he was.
I'm lit up about this fucking situation, but we're going to be cool. We're going to get the fuck out of here.
Exactly.
You're an asshole.
Yeah.
But
he's talking his shit, but he's also saying like, but I'm also done.
He's moving along.
I'm not going to like escalate this. Yeah. So I've got him maybe like 10, 12 feet out of there. I've still got my arms around him because it's like, because I don't know, And the dude from behind the counter comes charging out right through his group of familia and starts to talk shit about Jake's lady. Like just fucking like trying to reinstigate the fight. Jake loses his fucking shit. I have to fully grab onto him at this point. Now the whole family jumps in on this scenario. So it's like 7, 8 people screaming at my buddy.
Yeah, it's like a mock-up Hatfield McCoy situation now.
And he's losing his shit. So it's like he pulls off his fucking shirt. It's like full fucking white trash, just like, let's all just fight out here in the woods and settle it kind of shit, And I'm just trying to hold him back because part of it is selfish. I just really want to go home.
Yeah.
And two, it's like, I really like this man. I don't want him to go to jail because he will, And they're like all ganged up on now. So like they formed like a crescent and they're yelling at me and Jake. I'm like full on bear hugging Jake, who is so much bigger than me that at any moment he can throw me off of him.
He's a very big, very strong dude.
And he's saying to me, he's like, Pete, let go of me. I'm gonna go to jail tonight. And he's like, but I'm gonna take all of these people with me. And I'm like, basically, I'm bear hugging him to the point where it's like our cheeks are touching. Yeah. And we're not like friends for 20 years or anything. Right. I've known this man for like 2 years. So like this is the coziest we've ever been. And I'm like you grasp a man's head while you're bear hugging him, and it's like I'm whispering into his ear, and I'm like, please don't do this. Because I'm really like I need him to agree with me. There's no way that I can actually stop him.
And you're trying to get the best situation possible.
Yeah.
That's all you're trying to do.
Yeah. And he's like slowly walking backwards because like fortunately we're the same height. I would have no other ability to do this. Otherwise he's got like an inch on me or so. And it's like we're slowly walking backwards because he's allowing it to happen. And I'm like, please just like let's just go to the truck and like let's just stop this and we'll go back and we'll get the girls. Everything's fine. And I was like, just fuck these people. They're pieces of shit. It is what it is. They're still hollering and hollering. And he's walking backwards and he's still saying, let me go. And I'm saying, you need to walk backwards.
It is a level of huge grace that he was at least listening to you in the most
honestly, like, I still feel that way because it's like me and this man do not know each other super well, but I feel very grateful that he was like respectful. He could have thrown me off.
Respecting you enough.
Yeah.
Because
I feel very gracious for that.
In instances of stuff that have happened with people like involved in this room, where it hasn't gone this way.
Oh, yeah,
Dan wasn't there for that. But
yeah. No, we've all, you get heated, and this man was about as heated as you could get. And he's the kind of guy to get heated, too.
But he was giving you enough of that respect.
Yeah, exactly.
That he was at least letting you walk.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, again, at any point, he could have thrown me off.
Yeah,
thrown me off of him.
That's a whole different story.
But he didn't want to harm me. He wanted to harm me.
No, he was respecting you enough.
Yeah.
Just enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like literally on the line enough.
Oh, yeah. And I knew that I was pressing it too. Yeah. Because he was trying to protect his lady, basically. And I was in the way of that. So I knew that I was putting myself in harm's way. And he's like walking backwards, and we didn't cover more than like 15 or 20 feet. And he's walking so slow backwards. And he's like got his fucking arms up in the air. It's a whole fucking thing. And these people are following us. And at a certain point, it's been a while since I've been in like this type of a situation. But at a certain point, I had to fucking turn around and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? This is your business. Yeah. And like, I calmed this down. This man was more than happy to walk away. And now all of a sudden you're trying to like, what? Start, what are you trying to do? Like kill his wife? Because we were 20 minutes late to get back to your fucking kayaking trip. And then and I had to say to him, I was like, if you're doing this to me, if I let this man go, I don't give a shit that there's 8 of you. He will kill each and every one of you. And he doesn't care right now that he'll go to jail. I'll be dead. Oh, no. So I have no concerns anymore.
No, his mind is made up. He's respecting you enough.
Yeah.
But one thing hits hard enough, everybody's dead.
Oh, yeah. And none of these people, they're all acting really big and hard because I'm between him and them. But like, there's no doubt in my mind that he would have absolutely, there was no way that 8 of these people could have taken him down.
No.
The cops would have put some bullets in him and that would have been the end of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, none of these people would have lived. This is like a Hulkamania
most of that lineage is gone.
Yeah.
If he got away.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So I fucking, I basically, I managed to, they back off ever so slightly. They continue to hoot and holler like a bunch of fucking children. I managed
Pinies.
to walk them all the way fucking back out. We finally get to the road. This is a campsite, so it took quite a while.
Yeah.
We've got like, now it's like 15 fucking people because everybody obviously sides with those that they know.
And this is also the thing. Half the party is still down by the river.
And there's a girl who's bleeding. There's a woman who's bleeding at the bottom.
About her by
and
now.
an old man who was like lost in a creek for a while. They do not give a fuck, right? So I finally get them out to the road. We walk across the street. They're shouting private property. Get the fuck out. You're just like insulting us. You know, some guy's calling me a faggot for no reason. I had to get into it with him. So it's like my girlfriend's down there, so I don't know who you're calling a faggot. But anyways, I get him across the street and I have to say to him, you know, like, please, you have to chill here. And he's like, I will. And I'm like, okay, please, I have to trust you. I walk back across the street, say to them, because now you've got this whole fucking gaggle of fucking idiots.
You continue, because you actually did something that actually worked for once.
This is my rare time to shine.
Yeah.
So I walk back across the street and they're like, get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, I'm on public land because I haven't stepped over this white line on the side of the highway. I was like, who's the most rational person here? They all start shouting. I'm like, nope, everybody stop. You're all idiots. Because obviously at the same time, I'm so happy to take this, because I felt very disrespected too. Yeah. But I was like, I'm happy to take this opportunity to dig on them. So I'm like, all of you are fucking morons. Who is the least idiotic and most rational person here? And finally, some dude stepped forward who's like a little bit younger than myself. He was maybe 25 or so, I would guess. And he was like, I'm willing to speak to you. Yeah. I'm like, okay, great. So I haven't done anything wrong here at all. I'm willing to acknowledge that my friend was obviously very hot-headed. Yeah. He has reason to be, but let's not even get into that. I was like, there's a wounded woman and two other girls down by the creek. If we can please go and get them. And I was like, and I'm not going to interact with any of these other people anymore. And they're all like gathered around, like I'm going to like start swinging or something. You know, it's like this whole fucking kit and caboodle with it. And he's like, okay, I'll help you to go and rescue those people. And it was almost like he was rational. He's like, holy shit. We completely forgot about the fact that we abandoned our customers on a river and the sun is now down and one of them has a cut wrist. You know, like maybe we should have cared about that an hour ago, which is about how long this whole fiasco took. So he's like, you can hop in my golf cart. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And obviously, as we drove through this crowd, I fucking totally took the opportunity to smile in the douchiest way at the guy that started all of this. Yeah. And he was so childish that he like took the bait and he like wanted to like run up to it and whatnot. But so this kid drove me and he stops at a random point and he was like, listen, I want to apologize. He was the guy that called me a faggot. And
this is that guy.
This is that guy. And he was like, I want to apologize. And he like put out his hand like to shake mine. And I was like, I know what this means, and I don't want to disrespect you by just straight up not shaking your hand, but I'm not going to shake your hand because there needs to be things that are like, we need to say some things right here. I was like, first of all, I'm not going to talk shit to you right now, but let's be clear that your whole fucking rabble was insane. I will acknowledge that my friend was a bit of a loose cannon, and that's who he is. And I'm not going to talk shit on him. That's my friend. That's who he is. But he had good reason to be that way. Your whole entourage was acting in an insane manner. One person being crazy, I talked him down. How are there 15 of you? And you just escalate and escalate and escalate. This is your fucking
literally
business.
So lucky there's not a body on the ground, if not more.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, you're talking shit to me the whole time? He was willing to murder any one of you to go and save his wife. And I do respect that. Yeah. Did he handle it the right way? No, that's not ideal. Right. But was he basically doing like the right thing? The thing that I respect? He was trying to protect people that mattered to him. And you guys were stopping him from doing that? Yeah, I will defend him for that. Yeah. And he was like, just so you know, I'm not a member of this family and I just help out here. And I was like, all right, listen, that's fine. I was like, I'll shake your hand if we can just go and get these women and you keep these other fucking people out of it. So we did that. Yeah. We drive down there. We finally get down to the three girls and the old man. And they're just like, what's going on?
What's happening?
And I was like, well, Jake almost murdered these people. and my lady,
he may be up there murdering them now.
My lady Nicolette was like, I knew it. And I was like, no, it actually was not his fault. I was like, they actually really started this whole thing. He really didn't do anything like that terrible. And she's like, okay. And so we go back, we get the kayaks, this whole song and dance. And this guy who shook my hand, he's like, we finally got all the girls together. I go and get my truck to get the kayaks and this and that. and he's like, hey, I can give all these girls, and this old man a ride back on my golf cart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Let me ask them.
Yeah.
And they're like, listening to the conversation. They have no idea what just transpired.
No.
And I was like, do you guys feel comfortable with that? And they're like, yeah, we don't want to walk. It's been a really long day. I'm like, okay. Yeah. And,
Just brace yourself.
yeah, exactly. So we get up there now, and it's hilarious because they had no fucking clue. And now we're like driving through this whole campsite, and like people have obviously like heard what was going on.
Yeah.
So there's like regular campers who've like
Oh no,
stopped.
no, everybody's rubbernecking now.
Yeah, and we get up there. We were like approaching the exit where that highway was, where I didn't cross it until I could speak to a sane person.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they're all out there with like their torches and pitchforks, and they're like waiting for us. And they're just like, holy fucking shit, what actually happened? And on the other side of the road, Jake is over there, and there's a fucking single New Jersey fucking state cop out there talking to him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, I have to put out another fire. So like we roll up, and I like pull up alongside this guy with the golf cart, the guy who shook my hand. And I was like, hey, let him out here on this side of the highway. And he's like, no, I'm happy to drive them up to their
No.
your guys' truck. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to tell you what to do because you've been chill with me since we made our amends. I was like, but if you go over there, then you're going to end up having to have a conversation with Jake. And I'm not going to tell you that he's a bad man that's going to hurt you, but it
doesn't behoove you to do this.
But if you go over there, I'm done helping you.
Yeah.
That's like, I've done everything.
Our temporary little allegiance here is over.
Yeah. My advice to you is to let them out right here. They can walk the 30 feet across the highway. Yep. There's no traffic here. Let them walk across, and then everything's fine. And he stays over there, and that's it.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. And we pieced our ways over there. So now basically, and obviously they're all like, all these fucking people are there in their rabble. And I'm fucking smiling like with a shit-eating grin as I walk through. Because fuck all of
this.
you.
Yeah.
You're all so far beneath me. Because it's just, fuck these fucking people. And so I walk across the other side. And despite my, chagrin and what have you, I'm like, I have to deal with this fucking cop now. Because I don't want Jake, like after all this, I don't want Jake to go to jail. And I walk over there, and now it becomes apparent that Jake and this cop are fucking laughing.
Yeah, they're having the best time of their life.
And I'm like I'm so like prepared to like have to tell like the side of the story where Jake isn't the villain, because obviously the cop talked to the other people first. They presumably called the cops. And I walk over there, and I'm like maybe 10 feet away from this cop. Jake's standing right there, and I'm like basically inhaling to begin to tell the story of how Jake's not a bad man and like all of this and that. And as I'm like exhaling to begin this tale, the cop looks at me and he just goes, "You must be Pete."
Which hilariously probably pulled your balls up into your body.
My God. My immediate reaction was like, "And I didn't catch your name." And basically they were just like the best of pals. Jake basically told him the truth. He was like, these people were assholes. I was trying to help these other people. I had to save a man from the river. A woman got her fucking wrist cut open. These people don't give a fuck.
And it's also like, and I do mean this, there's a huge credit to you because you were able to facilitate him not murdering the person at the counter.
Yeah.
Also placing him across the street.
I did the best that I could. Yeah.
And like, you're one of my oldest friends, and you're an asshole, and you're a good dude when you can be. But like, this is like you in a shining moment. Don't get too big of a head. I'll knock you down next time.
I wanted,
but you don't want to be involved in any of the bullshit.
That's what it was, and it was like one. And as I said before, it was definitely a very selfish thing.
Yeah.
I didn't want, I like Jake a lot, but I mean, like Jake's not like a stranger to these types of problems.
Right.
Again, he's a hot-headed guy.
And it also is like, you don't get involved.
Yeah.
He strangles that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows what happens to the rest of the fucking party with the cops.
What was driving me crazy for it, Jake was right. He's
absolutely right.
What drove me fucking crazy about it is that I had to swallow my own, like he doesn't swallow his pride.
I think that's where I'm giving you the credit, is that I
hated it.
Of course you hate it.
And
that's the fucking thing, though.
That dude who disrespected his woman, I wanted to see that man just like ripped, fucking like just drawn and quartered.
It's so fucking true, though. Like, truly. But that's where we have to operate these days. Yeah. Like back in the day, like we've dealt with shit and like you shut it down then and there. But we can't do that these fucking
Right,
days.
yeah. These days, the cops are not going to be light on you for
No.
it, you know. And
everybody's fucked. Even if they're like barely, like girl with cut wrist is involved.
yeah.
And it's tough. And I'm like, hey, I don't I don't prop you up too much, Pete, but like
I'll take the compliments where I get 'em.
but like no, you did a good job there. Because you did the best you could and probably got the best ending that could be available.
It's the best that we could have gotten. It's that what he was trying to do was, if we lived in a truly just world, then that guy talked real big when he was talking to a girl.
Yeah.
And he wanted to talk some shit to her. As soon as I said something, he drove off in his fucking van.
Yeah.
Then he gets Jake marching up into his office, and he talks real big from behind a counter.
And that's this
where
guy's
he calls
like
the cops.
"Quote unquote" safe space.
Exactly.
So he feels real big.
And then once I get Jake fucking 12 fucking feet outside of it, that's when he comes barreling out, talking once again about its lady.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's the most cowardly
a person like that who owns a business can be like, now I can do like fucking like this is my property type shit. This is like, and he also has all his supposed kin to back him up in this type of nonsense.
It's just so it's like what pisses me off. It's not that the guy was an asshole, because obviously, like, we all encounter assholes all the time. I drive on the fucking highway. I know this, but it's the cowardice of it. It's that, like, this guy had a really I facilitated part of that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like regretful of that. But it's
if I were in your shoes, I would have absolutely wished for the absolute destruction of that fucking family.
Me pulling Jake away.
Yeah.
When I got Jake to walk away, and he was a willing participant in that. So I certainly am not.
He was taking it, mouth and all. He was
still getting some shit, and he was like, you know what though, I'm gonna walk away. You know. And I helped him to do that. I'll take that credit.
Yeah.
But we were walking away. And that's when this dude fucking comes out, when he's got 7 other fucking people against 1.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when he's got a big game to talk. It's such bullshit.
As you said before, he was just a coward. He was hiding behind the crowd.
Coward.
But completely unaware that this one man could destroy all of them in one swing practically.
Yeah.
And like, this dude legitimately the worst card you could pull.
Oh yeah, he's a fucking beast. He would have destroyed all of them. Yeah.
But Pete, Maximilian Caliente, whatever your name is in this episode,
Pete is my middle name.
You leave out a part of the story because when all of this is like, we're pretty much wrapped up with the story. You wanted to go somewhere at the end of this story.
Oh, and now we come back to the great decisions that I actually make, and this is why I am a true hero. When all of this was said and done, everybody else showed up there. They were ready for a delightful day of kayaking, wearing their bathing suits, their flip-flops, their guinea tees, whatever you want to call it, all these things.
Well, one especially, but yes.
Yes. After all of these things were said and done, and then after we had this enormous blow up, this incredible story, everybody was ready for a drink.
Yes.
And we all looked around and we said this to each other. You ready for one? And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I am. And we're like, well, we have to stop home and go and change. And I said to them, I don't. Because I am wearing a soaking wet pair of jeans, a torn and tattered Hawaiian shirt, and boots that are filled with about 3 inches of water.
You were wearing straight up Chelsea boots.
Chelsea boots. They hold all the water in. And I was ready to walk in to any bar in the area, but all these bitches, and Jake is included in this. He was dressed so perfectly for kayaking and maybe perfectly for fighting. But he wasn't ready to walk into a bar because they do not allow that attire in there. I was ready to drink every minute of the day.
This is obviously such a great harrowing story, but I will raise my can.
We'll do a loud and drunk cheers.
Loud and drunk cheers.
I'll raise mine. No.
If you're listening, you got a beer or a drink in hand, raise it and take a shot.
We don't care if you listen to this in the morning.
No, listen, that's your own problem. Get
24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But speaking of assholes, Moses.
I did nothing.
Wow. Okay. He truly did nothing.
Answer?
I was afraid because I truly don't have anything to share as far as good stories. My summer's been very. I didn't take any time off to do anything specific, but like the summer, if you grow up in like where summer is summer here, like June through the end of August, whatever, we drink. We have a good time. And
you avoid the shit out of the beach.
Well, no. Oh, then that's a very fair point. I grew up on the beach. I don't go to the beach.
Yeah.
I grew up eating seafood. I don't eat seafood anymore. Christina, as you know, my lovely wife, she's from North Jersey, Elizabeth, and all over North Jersey. Yep. She loves the seafood. And I'm happy for it. I purvey all the seafood for her. But as a person that literally grew up, we went out on my grandfather's boat, and what we got is what we ate for the week.
Yeah.
I can't eat crabs anymore. I can't eat fucking flounder anymore. Steak is where I live now.
Yeah. Land animals.
Yeah. But that was my life. And I'm not mad at that. Like, I had a great life eating crab and flatfish and all that shit when I was a kid.
The fish of the summer.
Yeah.
Now that you're bringing up crab, when my brother actually studied what would you call it? The cooking, culinary, whatever the fuck.
Sure.
So he came back one day. So when he was up here for my cousin's wedding, he came back down to this area. And he just sent me a text. I think it was Sunday. And that Sunday, I was hanging out with you, Mr. Caliente.
Yeah.
Because I was just so exhausted because I had been drinking essentially since Wednesday. And now it's Sunday.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah.
Gotta keep it going.
And so he just sends me a text. Either I got crabs or we got crabs. And I'm like,
oh wow.
You need a shampoo for that.
If I can chime in.
Yes.
If you buy crabs from a place, they're incredibly expensive. We live on the water here.
Yeah.
Generally where we are. And I'm from here. I grew up, we went out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, by the big structures, the bridges, and we got a shit ton of crabs.
That's where they congregate.
Yeah. My wife is used to shitty crabs. She's from Elizabeth. And and it's you get the little nonsense crabs. The best thing I ever fucking did, they come down here, they're around here. That's the famous story of I met my wife in her cousin's front yard. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And they all come down and congregate at that house. The best thing I could fucking do is I got them crab traps.
Yeah.
And now
I didn't know that people didn't know about that.
It's wild.
Yeah.
But they would come down and if you go to the local place, not non-corporate local place to get crabs, you're paying $80 a dozen.
Yeah. They're so easy to catch.
Yeah.
Use rancid old food.
Yeah.
Put Chinese food out there.
I got them.
All of it they eat it and finish.
I spent $60 on 2 crab traps, big Maryland style with the hotel and shit. And now I don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on crabs.
Yeah. It's fucking sexy. They last for years.
They're literally 150 yards from here.
So Justin, you're a crab person now.
Crap.
Oh no, I still don't eat it anymore. But I'm happy not to spend that money on fucking crabs, which I gave them the means to catch your own goddamn crabs.
You
all right,
still
guys.
walk the bulkheads and scoop them right out of the lagoon.
Also with the eels.
Oh, the eels too. Those are fun.
I'm not Korean.
All right, guys, we have run a little long
Yeah,
in this
we are.
podcast.
That's
So
my
Moses,
fault.
if you don't have anything to share with the class.
Everything that I have hasn't happened yet.
He's waiting for next summer.
Yeah, we're going to be going to Vegas, me and the missus, because that's the best time to go.
That's the time that you always go. I was there with you for one.
Well, that
of
was in
those
June.
journeys.
We're-
We're
Oh,
going
that's
to
tail
their
end now.
wedding.
Yeah, August is, I guess, worse. Yeah,
I would imagine worse.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, they're having record high heats right now.
Yeah.
And
It's
in the
only supposed to be
120s.
108 when we land.
So what do we have to set up a bucket for Moses next time?
Yeah, I'll just be a puddle.
It's just a pool of a man.
It's going to be an amorphous blob.
Yeah.
But
If it wasn't so bad for SEO, that would be the name of the podcast, Pool of a Man.
we booked this ages ago, and I got a notice in the mail about jury duty. The last time I got this, I was, I think, 18.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you're one of those.
40 years ago.
Yeah, and it was just and I think one of the cases were mine.
Immediately excused.
Yeah, I'm a little biased. But, and then, I filled that out. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be here. I'm leaving the day of that I'm called upon.
I just picture his place in jury duty as it's an upside down mop with googly eyes. And it's got a "My name is Moses" thing while he sits in the
Mop bucket
defendant's
Wendy.
stand.
Well, what is it? Is it local or state?
I don't even know. I didn't even look at that part.
What the how do you
It's crazy that you don't.
That's on brand for Moses.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't read it. I'm just like, I gotta do
It
something.
probably is fucking Trent and fucking bullshit. And they're gonna fully arrest you when you come back from your fucking trip.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's what my wife says. She's like, well, you're going. And I'm like, what, to jury duty? She's like, no, Vegas. Like,
How funny would it be if U.S. Marshals like kick open their hotel door?
Moses, if
You know, she's gonna look at him and be like, "You planned this."
you're a fucking narc. I knew it.
Moses, if the Simpsons have taught me anything, the trick to getting out of jury duty is to say you're prejudiced against all races.
I did get it deferred this morning. It was really fucking easy.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I filled it out, the paper. She's like, oh, I haven't gotten it yet. And I also filled it online, but I couldn't find a place to put for the deferment. And she's like, oh, okay. So what's your ID number? And I gave it to her. She's like, all right, I'm putting you on for February.
There you go.
That's
That's perfect. Right in time for Valentine's Day.
God bless.
Well, no, I got a trip then too.
Oh, jeez.
Got to feel Vegas in all its forms.
Yeah. He just keeps going to Vegas every time he gets called up for jury duty.
Dumb bastard.
Yeah.
In the spirit of Vegas, you're doing a little bit of a gamble.
I don't gamble with money, just my life.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Here we are.
But guys, I can tell you what's not a gamble. Subscribing to this podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. Check us out on YouTube and Rumble. Make sure that you like, comment, share, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our content. Follow us on social media. We are at Loud and Drunk on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you enjoyed this podcast, then become a Loud and Drunk supporter at patreon.com/loud and drunk. And also make sure if you're like, Dan, you do these calls to actions every podcast. I don't have all time for all these links. Then bookmark loudanddrunk.com and all of the links are there.
It's right there. It's your friend.
So for Justin, Moses, and Maximilian Pete Caliente,
Yeehaw.
I'm Dan. And until next time, yay! No, that was a different podcast.
No.
I'm on a high.